wasn't fit today?
I did notice. I was trying to really watch you because I normally just don't. And I was so proud of my buddy.
The thing that gets me, and I told you this before, is because of whatever my anatomy is on my back. Those 2 points on my back that are nothing is covering them anymore because it's all bone, stick right into the floor.
What about a double mat?
I guess I could try. I always forget because I'm usually
you're like
rushed to get in there. Yeah, but so when I do it, I can feel, I keep those bones on the floor and then I just move my legs up and down like this. It's because I can't rock because it hurts so much.
Okay, wait, let me just say hello. Like,
okay.
Okay.
Sorry, I can start it whenever you want.
Okay. Well, no, I like it when you do that. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Watch Me Grow. I am Paige. I am here with Channing, my husband and co-host, and it's just him and I tonight. We filmed a podcast earlier. We had our guest Hugh that will be coming out, I guess, before this one. So
yeah, Monday.
Yeah. So I have the same outfit on. Same outfit, which is a sweatshirt. I do have shorts on, but you can't really tell. I don't know how far they can see. They can see everything.
Like right around your knees, maybe.
Yeah. Okay. And I did the podcast and I left and took Kelly's class. Fit at 4:30. It was amazing, but the lights, the reason I'm keeping my glasses on is because these lights are so bright, the ring lights, and in class tonight, they've come to the studio a bunch of times to fix this problem, and it keeps happening. I actually had to turn the LEDs off in my class the other day on Thursday and just keep the overhead lights on, so my eyes are super sensitive right now. The lights, it's not flickering in the sense that it's going on and off, but it's like pulsating. It's very bizarre. And it's so actually annoying.
Did you say something about that in class the other day? Because you're like, I'm just going to leave it on blue or something?
Yes.
That's what it was?
It's been happening. And they fix it. It's great for a couple of days. It almost seems like...
Does it go to the music?
It seems like that, but we don't think that's the case. Maybe it's just like a loose connection and the bass of the music
shakes
is vibrating it. Anyways, so, and you did fit today.
Yes, I did. I feel all tight in there now.
I love that.
That's what I noticed from that class is that it's like everything just feels like you put, I feel like I put a wetsuit on and it just, everything sucks in because you're tight for 45 minutes.
Yes.
And I've done... I took off for a fit for a while and was just doing yoga. But then now, after Taylor told me I need to tighten up a little bit, I've done like 5 classes in the last 2 weeks and it feels great. And now as I'm going through it, I know it's only 45 minutes, but it seems even shorter. Like I'm going through and I'm like, we got to be like not even halfway through. And like we have 3 minutes left. I'm like, what in the heck? It goes by so fast. Yeah.
So just tonight in Kelly's class, there's this new client and she's 73 and she is
That's awesome.
Gorgeous.
Yeah.
And she had never done fit before. She's only done a few yoga. She's new to Yoga Joint. And I don't know if Kelly told her to come to fit or she loves Michael. Loves Michael and Michael loves her. It's actually so adorable. And she came to fit tonight. And after she was like, girl, that was not 45 minutes. She's like, that seemed like 5 minutes. I want more. And she's 73. I'm like, this is the exact energy I'm looking for in my life and for myself.
Me too.
For myself. Taylor loved her. I said, this is my daughter. Oh my God. Your children are so beautiful. I cannot believe it. I said, you have to meet my husband. He was here this morning. Oh my gosh, it's a family affair. She's really cute.
That's so cute.
She said, this was harder than when I used to do CrossFit in my 60s.
Oh my God, good for her.
She's jacked.
Do people say that it's harder to do yoga in the morning? Because I find I like doing the fit in the morning because I don't have to be so like loose. But if I do yoga in the morning, it's so rough on me.
I don't know if I've ever asked people. I know people have a preference. Yeah. People that we have 6 a.m.ers that just absolutely swear and live and die by it. But then obviously
I've done the
6
a.m. yoga before, but it's so hard for me. Like I feel like I can barely bend over.
Same.
But fit is good because you're crunched all the time.
Exactly.
So it doesn't really matter.
I actually agree. I prefer to do yoga in the afternoon. Amber and I had this conversation. She's probably going to be calling me. I want to make sure my phone's off. I didn't tell her we were doing a pod. We were having this conversation the other day. she never works out at night anymore, but she used to always, or yoga or workout, but for yoga. And she did it the other night and she's like, oh my God, it just felt so good. I forgot and I slept so good. And so there are pros and cons. I had said in 2025, I was going to start trying to go to later classes for yoga, do fit in the morning when I do fit, and do yoga in the afternoon because it does help you sleep.
Yeah.
And you sweat. So then
you won't have to pee as much.
Yeah, I won't have to pee as much. And so I'm going to try it.
Well, let me know. Let me know how that goes.
Even though today I did fit, I will let you know how it goes. So how's everything with you?
Good. Everything's good.
What are we talking about today?
What are we talking about? Are we doing relationship pod?
So, Chan,
you were just talking about something in the pool, and I thought we were going to talk about that.
It was funny.
Too.
We're talking about. I remember, even though I'm very forgetful these days. Chan wants to do a podcast, and here we are on our relationship, and I keep pushing back on it because I'm thinking, what are we going to talk about, and what is Chan going to say? So, what I have noticed. To be H, what I've noticed, that's to be honest, for all the people my age who don't have kids my age, who don't know what TBH means.
TBH.
What I notice is that Chan is very honest and he does not sugarcoat anything and he just says things like it is. And I, because of my position and because I live in a fishbowl and because I have been so harshly judged in this community for years and years and years, and that breaks down your spirit, I tend to put guardrails on things that I talk about. And whether that is right, wrong, indifferent, it's something that I'm most comfortable with right now because I want to make sure that I don't say anything that would offend anybody. And I don't want to come across as judgmental and it's everybody's so sensitive. And even saying that is a little scary because I don't want to offend anybody, but it just seems like we're living in a very sensitive time. And I just want to be sensitive to people's feelings. And so I tend to not really get down and dirty with things that I maybe would get down and dirty with, but also the yogi in me at times can feel like no feelings final. And I'm a Gemini on top of being a yogi. So my opinion can change so quickly.
And you can hold multiple opinions at the same time.
I was having this conversation too. I can feel one way about something one day and feel the exact opposite the next, or simultaneously I can feel different things. I'm not a very like it's this way type of person. I've never really been like that. I like my way, of course, and my opinion. And when it comes to work things, I'm sure my team would feel differently because my team feels like although I'm constantly changing things and making things better, they feel I'm super decisive and it's like my way or the highway. So I think that they would say that. But in life, I'm very like, well, what do you want to do? What restaurant do you want to go to? You like this? Great. Like, I'm not like set that I have to do this or that. So I get a little bit nervous to do ones on our relationship because even just earlier, we were doing a podcast with Hugh, one of my chiropractors. And if you guys are listening to this, his was the week before, but in real life today, it was today for us. It was earlier. And Chan said two things that in my mind, I was like, why would he say that? But then I was like, you know what, girl, this is the podcast and this is what people want. People want vulnerability. People want the truth. And even though it's hard for me sometimes, and a couple things you said was hard for me, but I was like, it is what it is. Like,
what did I say?
I can't script. It's not scripted. That's right. The thing about this podcast is that it's not scripted. And technically I could edit things out and technically I could say I don't want that, but I don't want that either. I want to get over that. I don't want to feel like I'm in a fishbowl. I don't want to think, and you know what? If you judge me, fuck it. People have judged me for
well, see, that's
so
what
long.
my part of it is for you. because obviously I'm with you so much that I know how you feel about certain things, and I know that you don't want to rock the boat and offend anybody, and that you're scared of being canceled.
Like when I talked about the kids' vaccinations that I didn't vaccinate, that was so scary for me. Like even saying it just now, I get a little flutter.
This is the thing, is it?
But wait, sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but I want to tell you, I got so many DMs from young moms really struggling, saying,
it's a hard decision.
My gut, I don't want to do it. And hearing you really helped me. And now I'm doing a little bit more research and I'm digging into it. And I just, of course, because it's to each their own, I just said, great, I'm so glad I could affect you in a positive way.
Right. And so I get all that, and I'm so happy that happened that way, and I'm happy that it was well received. The part that leaves me feeling weird in the inside when I see you do that is that you lose a bit of your authenticity, and you lose a bit of who you really are. And I'm so in love, and I love the person that you are. And whether or not people have different opinions, you still have to be able to function together. That's what this world has lacked of recent, is that if you have a different opinion than me, I'm not even talking to you anymore. That's the dumbest thing in the world. Because the way that you have a good idea or a bad idea is not in a vacuum. If you have a good idea and a bad idea, and this is in a vacuum, you don't know if it's a good idea or a bad idea. You have a good idea because it's compared to a bad idea. We always say that comparison's the death of, what do they say? The thief of joy and all that stuff. But in good versus bad, if I have a great idea and I think this is so good, we're going to go to the top of the roof and we're going to jump off onto the cement. That's a great idea. It's so much fun. It sounds great. Well, you're going to be like, that's a terrible idea. You're going to break your bones and you're not going to be able to walk anymore. I didn't even think of that. Well, thank you. So now we talked about it, and now we know that it really is a bad idea. So when you don't say things, you have a lot of good ideas, and in my opinion, you have a lot of great insight, and you look at things definitely different than I do. Not all the time, but a lot of times. And I appreciate hearing what you have to say. And that's all I say, is that I don't want, people to pigeonhole you, is that you have to, because you own Yoga Joint and because you're a yoga teacher, you have to think this way, and you have to be, this way, and you have to do this, and you have to listen to this music, and you have to drive this car, and you have to, all these things. That's not who you are.
Yeah, I've never actually run with the crowd.
That's the thing I say about you, is when you just release the fear almost and just be you, it's so great.
Yeah.
It's so great. Yeah. And that's what I say. That's what I mean when I say all that.
No, and I appreciate it. I also have business partners and investors, and I've said things about the business on the podcast, and then I get an email, an investor's not happy because of something I said, and then my business partner. So and then the children.
And I understand.
And I want to make sure that I'm not, it's their life that they're not vaccinated. Maybe they don't want people to know that. And then we talked about Mac, and then I had one of our clients at Yoga Joint come up to me and say, oh, well, you think that's fair to talk about him? And it's just like,
but this is the thing.
You do have to ride the wave, and I want to put myself out there, and that's why I'm here. Right. Obviously,
and that's the thing too, is that everybody has a story. If you don't like my story, I don't really care. Like that, I'm here to tell my story or give my thought on something, and I want to hear your thought on it. I don't want to hear what you think everybody else wants to say. That is so dumb.
Right.
But if somebody doesn't like it, and I think it's even good to sensitize people to that and say, listen, even though I love her and she's my yoga teacher, she says some stuff that I don't really agree with, but I still love going to her class.
Yeah.
And I know because of you're worried about, offending people, and you don't want them to not come to Yoga Joint because you feel like this whole thing is a house of cards and it's just going to fall down.
Right.
But what I've always said is, I'm like, freaking own it. Just own it. You are a boss ass bitch, and you do great things, and people love to be around you. And even if somebody wants to cancel you because you eat steak and you drive a car, well, you drive a battery car now, but if you drive a car that burns fossil fuels.
I hate my battery car. So there you go. That's not the popular opinion. And if we're going to just rip the Band-Aid, I hate my fucking electric car. I've had an electric car for 5-6 years now. No, longer, because I had my first for 4 and this one's almost 3.
No, I think we had the first one here.
Okay, so
maybe I'm wrong.
5 years.
4 or 5 years, yeah.
Okay. And I'm done. I'm done with it. I cannot wait for my lease to be done. I am D-O-N-E with this electric car.
I'm saving this one. And I'm going to play that back to you when you tell me that you want another car.
No, I hate getting gas. It has nothing to do with that. It's that I can't, I'm.
By the way, I downloaded this app the other day that allegedly says that they're able to do mobile gas delivery. So you hit on your thing and it doesn't exist yet, even though it says it's in Fort Lauderdale, and I'm blanking on the name right now.
Okay.
But I'm like, why is that not a thing? It should just be a thing. They fill your car at night and they make rounds and I know.
So great.
I know.
It'd be so great. So ironically, what we were talking about in the pool was sort of this. So we had a situation today where a friend thought that another friend wasn't being professional. That's what we were talking about. And because it just came across like our radar. And I was saying how it's so interesting because two people have such a different perspective. And I don't feel like I'm put in the middle at all. So it wasn't like a stressful situation for me at all. It was interesting because the person who offended the other person I was with today, and they were saying, I just did not mean to. I was just saying that it was better for me to do X, Y, and Z. And I understand that looks not professional in a way, because the person on the other end is like, wait, we had this scheduled,
right,
and now you're saying, do you want to change the time? It's better for me to change the time. But the person that was writing that was so in a different mind frame, like, hey, my other clients canceled and I just wanted to see if it was better for you.
Right.
And writing it was better for that person was a mistake, because that does make you look not great. But I see both sides.
Of course.
But that was how we started the conversation. I was talking because he was telling you what happened, and I was saying, look, everybody feels the way they feel, and unfortunately people don't talk, and people don't just say, this is how I feel. Right. And that's what I was, sorry to interrupt, but that's what I was just going to say about that whole conversation that we had, is that one of the most difficult things that happens all the time nowadays, because of the way people communicate, is that whole thing got lost because it was on text. Yes.
If they had picked up, if either one of them had a phone call and said, hey, I have people that canceled, and would you want to switch other than 8 o'clock? And they're like, no, 8 o'clock's better for me. No problem. I'll see you in a few minutes. But because on text, that gives the person the out, and they're like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to just cancel it. And then now everybody's going to be upset.
And so what's happening is that we're losing the skill set
and the intricacies of communication.
Yes, to be able to communicate. Yep. And we're so quick to just say, no, that person's unprofessional and fuck it. And maybe that person is not professional. I don't know. I mean, for me, I've never had that experience. Actually, I know that person is like that. So what I say when I get those type of texts from him, I'll say, hey, no, I'm sure it is better for you to do it later because you want to go to class, but what's best for me is 8 a.m.
Right, and you're the client. Right.
I'm the client. And the other day, when we were talking about Hugh, because he was here, so we're talking about Hugh. So a friend of mine, another client of his, was supposed to have because now I'm like pussyfooting around it, but I'm not trying. Pussyfoot, Haley loves that word. So what had happened is that our buddy Hugh is a personal trainer. He was personal training a friend of ours. He said, do you want to push it later? Because he told me that he had clients that had canceled on him. So he was like foot free, whatever it's called.
Footloose and fancy free.
So he was just like, let me text the client. Well, the client was like, no, 8 a.m. is what we scheduled. We already RSVP'd. And I get that. Like, why the fuck are you even texting me? I don't want to move. But that's her perception of it. His perception is, well, let me ask her. So he thinks he's being nice. She thinks he's being a dick. And now...
But it's all because it wasn't a conversation.
Exactly.
That was my point.
Exactly. So... we were talking in the hot tub about communication, and I was saying that you and I have had to really go through some hard things in our marriage. And a lot of it was a lack of communication. And in my opinion, it was a lack,
or maybe not a lack of communication, but not good communication.
a lack of, or comprehension.
Effective communication.
Comprehension.
Yeah.
Because that's another thing that they say. They say that it's not how much you communicate with somebody, it's how much that person comprehends.
Yeah.
And
I take a lot of blame for that because I don't think I'm a great communicator, especially when I'm under pressure and under, like if it's a stressful situation for me. What was that?
I thought it was a camera.
If it's a stressful situation for me, then I don't feel like I communicate very well.
So Chan is a lot like our daughter Taylor, where if he's uncomfortable in any bit, he's done. He's shutting it down. He's shutting the conversation down and he's walking away. And Taylor does that too. And I am the exact opposite. I'm not sure if it's like it's not a love language, because I know the love languages, but it's some sort in psychology. It's something, because Jay Shetty talks about it. So I'm the opposite. I want to sit and talk about it and beat the fucking dead horse until it's done. Haley's like that. Haley and I talk about it. Kelly's more like you, where she needs to just take a minute. So it is interesting, because what happens is when you have one person like that and one person like me, the best thing I can do for him is give him space. And the best thing he can do for me is to say, what can I say to you right now for you to understand that I love you? I'm not aborting this situation. I'm not leaving you because I have abandonment issues. And all he needed to say all those times was, I love you, but it's not healthy for me to have this conversation, because you're not going to get the best of me right now. You're going to actually get the worst of me, because I'm completely shut down. Now, obviously that would be in a perfect world. And now, all these years later, decades later that we've been together, we recognize this.
Right.
So you know that I need you to reassure me when we're fighting that you're not leaving, that you love me, but you just are going to go downstairs, maybe even sleep on the couch. You just need some space. And that has been tremendous for us, because now I just, okay, no problem. Like, I'll give you that space, where before you would shut it down and you would walk away or leave, which would even be more catastrophic for me. And I didn't realize that you just needed me to be okay with that. But I didn't know, because my issues come from my childhood with my mom, who would leave and go out with her friends and not come home for a couple days. And she was an alcoholic. She is an alcoholic, or was an alcoholic. And that for a child, they don't know how to decipher what any of this means. So it's just the little girl inside of me screams like, please don't leave me. I'm hanging by a thread. And also when we're fighting, it's a little gnarly, because we're in an argument and things are said and things are left unsaid. And it's a very tricky situation to navigate. But now nobody wants to navigate those waters. And that's what's so difficult, whether it's friendship, business, whether it's your partner, whether it's your lover, your daughter, your sister. It's so interesting to see how people
just shut it down.
And I'm not sure if that's how it's always been or it's gotten worse.
I definitely think the communication part, because of social media and phones and how people communicate now, like, I'm so worried about our kids.
Yeah,
like
and
how,
their kids.
And the kids that are just being born now. And I don't know, it's mind boggling. They don't have conversations. Like they text each other, they snap each other. They don't even text each other. They like snap each other, or they TikTok, and it's how they communicate, but it's not. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's that healthy.
Even
so that's
Taylor tonight was in the hot tub with us when we were having this conversation. And she said, this conversation is so helpful for me, because I do that. As soon as I'm uncomfortable, I'm just out. I shut it down. I'm out.
It does it to me.
And I know. And I was telling her, the problem is that when you're uncomfortable in life, it's when you're struggling, that means something. That's information that your body's giving you. And 9 times out of 10, if you talk that through with the person you're uncomfortable with, 9 times out of 10, you'll work it out.
Right.
Just for an example with this situation with Hugh, if my friend would have said, no, 8 a.m. is actually exactly what I need.
Yeah, because she probably had her whole day planned already.
Well, of course she did, because that's what we have. We're busy, and she's super busy, and she has a lot going on, and she doesn't want to wait.
Right.
But if she would have just said, no, 8 a.m. works better for me, thank you for asking, because he was, in his defense, he was just asking. It was just the way he worded it just made it sound not great. And then from there, it would have been a non-issue.
Right.
So what were you going to say? Because I interrupted.
I was going to say that when we used to communicate, or lack of communicate that back then, for me, it was so helpful. You just kind of explained it too, but it was sometime, I'm sure you said it 100 times when we would fight and do whatever we would do, but you said it one time where it stuck with me, and it still sticks with me, is that when we're having whatever the difference that we're having, and I get to that point where I'm like, I just can't even fucking talk anymore. I just need a minute to walk away. I'm not talking to you, who's, my wife and the kid's mom and my partner and, runs the yoga joint. I'm talking to the little 6-year-old girl. So in my brain, I'm like, oh, well, when she's in her defense mode, she's thinking that way. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not, even though she's here and she looks like my wife, but she's a 6-year-old little girl who's worried that her mom's. So for me, it makes it easier, because then I'm like, because I understand more of the picture, and then I understand what you're going through. So then I can, because in the end of it, I mean, I know there's different reasons, but in the end, I just want you to understand my point, and then I want to understand your point, and then we can come to an agreement. And we've always said that. Even when we fight, we've always said how much we love each other. Even when I wanted to walk away from you and leave, you're still the person that I love the most in the whole wide world. And I don't want to lose you, but that situation is so uncomfortable under your skin, you just have to move away. Mm-hmm. For me. For you, it's the exact opposite. Yeah. It took me a long time to realize that, but when I finally realized that, then I noticed that we started, and I think a lot of different factors, but we started working through the things that we fumbled on year after year after year. I mean, we had bad fights where I thought we were going to get divorced. You thought we were going to get divorced. And I'm so happy now that we didn't, because we stuck it through. And this is the best part ever. This is the part where now I'm like, oh, this is what we did. This is why we waited for, and I'm glad we worked it through.
It's so sweet that you were saying that. And I've never heard you say it like that. I know that we've had conversations like this, but I've never heard you say it exactly like that. So thank you so much. You guys know I talk about this on the pod. I'm not a crier. I don't cry. And I was feeling like something maybe in my right eye, and I was like, what is that? But it went away.
Need a tissue?
No. I think going back to what we were talking about earlier, that's the crux of the issue, and why people keep swiping, and why people are struggling so much dating now, is that they can't get to this. And this has taken
because it's
2
hard.
decades.
Yeah, it's hard
we've
to
been
get there.
Together.
And that's the thing too. And you said this before in our past discussions. When you're looking for that person that you think you want to spend the rest of your life with and be with, I don't know anybody that checks every single box. Nope. They look like who you want. They act like you want. They're friends with your family. They don't have any baggage. They make a good amount of money. They don't smoke. They don't do drugs. They don't drink. They want to
eat like you.
Whatever.
They want to go to sleep at the time you go to sleep. They want to watch the movies you want to watch.
Yeah, that doesn't exist. I mean, maybe he does, but for the most part, there's something that somebody doesn't check the box. So, okay, what do you do? Well, I think you have to pick the big ones that, you have to align on the major parts. But then the little parts is and we have been, I think even lately, it's so great because it's you don't want to do something. You're like, I'm going to go upstairs. I'm like, okay, go ahead. Yeah. Normally I'm like, wait, why is she going upstairs? Yeah. Now I'm like, okay, go ahead, go read your book.
Also, yeah. I think it's interesting how we've grown into things I would never want to go and shoot a gun at a gun range, and that's what you like to do. And now I would go do that with you.
Would?
Yeah. Oh, okay. I've said that. Yeah. I've said I want to go. I did it in Colorado, and I had a good time. Yes. And you would never want to go do fit, and now you'll do fit. Or
I like fit.
But in the past,
a better example would be shopping.
You do not like shopping. I don't even like shopping though. But once in a while, you'll go.
Yeah, I mean, I only go when I have to get stuff. Like I went literally against my will to go buy Christmas presents. I hate going to the mall in December and November. And
yeah, but that was on you.
This has been a big year.
That was on you.
Last year was a lot going on.
You always wait to the last minute to get gifts. We both do. We are not good planners, and we're not good.
I'm working on that though.
Amber today was saying how organized I was. And I'm like, why do you think I'm organized? And she's like, well, your car is always so clean. Your house is always so neat. Your closet is always in order. Everything is organized in your bathroom. And I was like, oh, that's so interesting because you're right. I'm very organized in my home, but that's about it. So I don't know if it's, I guess, you think when people are organized, they're just organized as a holistic approach, but I am not. 2025 though, let's do this. I'm hoping to get more organized, but it doesn't, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's going that way.
Manifest it. You can do it.
Yeah. I like things in order, and it makes me feel more accomplished during the day, and I have to be organized. I like that you've had
that effect on me because now I'm more in order because of you.
It's so hot.
And it feels good.
How you are now, like cleaning, and I don't even ask you to clean, and that is.
But like, I don't know if you see my closet, but it's perfectly organized.
Well, you told me not to go in your closet.
Well, you can go now.
A little while ago.
Now it's because it was such a mess before that before I clean it, I don't want you to move and do things. And then now it's good.
Yeah, that's something that the audience probably doesn't think when they look at you, because you're good looking and you're so kind and you're so sweet and you're so smart.
What? That I'm messy? Mm-hmm. But it's not that little. And when I say messy, it's not like my kid's messy. It's like I didn't hang up my clothes.
Yeah.
It's not that bad compared to what I've seen from other people.
When we first met, when we first moved in together, we had been living together for, I guess, a couple years at this point. And Chan is more messy than me. And he would take his clothes off and leave it on the ground, or take his shoes and just leave it. And I was always cleaning up after him, not thinking about it. It's just so instinctual for me. I do it at the studios. I do it with the kids. And I know that's a big no-no. I do it. My dad lives with us. I do it for my dad. I love to clean. It's my way that I cleanse my own thoughts. And it's like very meditative for me. It's something I actually very much enjoy. I always say that if Yoga Joint goes bust, I would be an amazing organizer and cleaner and all that. So that was like the first 2 years. And then we went to therapy like maybe 4 or 5 years in, and it came out in therapy that would annoy him that I would do that, because he thought that I was huffing and puffing while I was doing it, because his ex did not like to clean up after him. And I explained to him that I loved doing that for him because he has so many amazing skill sets that he offers and brings to the family unit, and the value goes up so much in our family nucleus because of the skill sets that this man has. I feel like that's a whole nother podcast. People that don't know you have no idea how multifaceted you are and how many skill sets you bring to the table, where I don't bring as many skill sets to the table, and I'm really good at cleaning and organizing and spatial awareness. So I didn't mind doing it. And I thought that was so interesting. And that was a big pivotal point in our marriage. This was years ago, but the therapist got it out of us. And I looked at you, I remember, and I was like, I love cleaning up after you. And I'm good at it. So I want to do that for you because you do so much for me and the kids. And you were like, what? Because in your previous marriage, it was like you were being nagged all the time. And I thought that was an interesting, that's another thing it goes back to the comprehension in relationships.
Right.
Like you might think one thing, it goes back to the Hugh story. It's like he's thinking one thing, she's thinking one thing, and there's a miss. For years, I was cleaning up after you,
Right.
not knowing that it irritated you because you thought I was irritated, and then you didn't want to irritate me. And it's like this cyclical loop. But I just thought that was so fascinating. It's like it just takes so much to get to know somebody. Jay Shetty says that when you're dating, it takes 100 hours. Is that right?
I mean, it seems like it should be a lot more than that. 10,000 hours maybe?
No, I feel like
To know somebody? I mean, we're like, what, 18 years in, and I feel like I still learn things about you.
Obviously. I feel the same way. I forget what he said. I'll have to go back and listen, but Kristen and I talk about it. It's like the point is that it takes so much time, and people just don't want to put in the time.
Yeah.
And that's the hard part. My girlfriend Tamara that lives in Austin, she was just here, and she's single, and she was saying, she's like, no one wants to put in the time.
Because it's like the easy, the quick fix is just keep swiping if you don't like that one. If they don't match all my boxes. Dude, that's what I was saying is that
Swipe right.
Yeah, you have to figure it out. I mean, you said before, and I know you're being funny, but you're like, oh, well, you didn't, meaning me, I didn't match what you wanted physically when we started dating, but you're like, I'll just take this guy he seems like he knows what he's doing, and he's got a good job, and he's a professional, and he's got good bone structure, and I'll just knock some weight off of him. And
Yeah, I'm like, ladies, this is the tip, okay? Get your paper out. If you're driving, press pause and press play when you're
part of the
you
podcast.
can write this down. Y'all are doing it all wrong. You're going after the super smoking hot guys. Those guys, not all of them, because we have 2 boys that are really good looking and they're just big softies. So it's not all hot guys, but for all intents and purposes, for my point, the hot guy can be the douchebag. And I met Chan and was like, he is hot under there, because he was 280 pounds when we got married. He's 186 pounds right now. So you guys can, I mean,
the math.
It was a wild, like he was almost 100 pounds heavier. And I just fell in love with him because he was so kind and so sweet. And you were so much more of a yogi than I was, having done yoga for so many years. Your presence and your aura is so beautiful, and everybody that meets you feels that way and says that about you. And so I was like, I can definitely mold this guy. Like, I can mold this guy. This guy is so sweet and so kind, but he drinks beer and he plays poker and he does golf or plays golf. And I'm like, we can mold him. And then look at him now. Look at that.
You didn't know it was under there. The diamond in the rough.
No, I knew it was under there.
But the part for me is that, and I know you're being funny when you say that, kind of, but not really. But for me, the benefit of it is that I feel so much better now. I'm 54 than when I was definitely in my 40s and definitely in my 30s. I don't really remember my 20s. But the feeling, like my back doesn't hurt in the morning anymore. My knees don't hurt anymore.
Your back always hurt.
I sleep pretty good. Like I like getting up early now. Like this morning we got up really early and walked the dogs, and the dogs were like, why is it so dark outside?
I know.
And I just like it. Everything about it feels good now.
I agree.
And one of the things that I tell my patients too, when I had a patient on Friday that was a few years older than me, but he's probably 270 pounds and drank and did all these things. And I'm like, I was telling him this same part of the story where I'm like, I feel so much better now. And for me, what I notice myself is that because I feel better and because I've been eating well and not eating sugar and not really eating carbs and eating a lot of protein and working out and exercise and doing all the things that I'm doing, when I do have the opportunity to, a couple nights ago, our son ordered cookies from, I don't know what it was called.
Crumble or something?
No, but like Delivery Dudes or whatever, or Uber Eats at like 10 o'clock at night with my brother was here, and we're sitting there laughing. I had just made one of those like protein souffles, and we were saying how good it was. And then Michael comes in with these like chocolate chip cookies that looked so good, and literally like the chocolate was melting off of it and they were like crumbling off. And I'm like, like that little kid with that marshmallow video that I love so much. And I looked at it and I'm like, I'm just not fucking doing it, because old me 6 months ago would have done it. But now I'm like, I'm not doing it because I just know I'm going to feel like shit when I eat it.
Yeah.
So that's what you've changed that to me. And that's a big gift because I think personally, if I would have been the other way at 52, instead of saying I can't be the fat guy walking down the stairs where my knees hurt and, you know, I'm going to have grandkids in a couple years. I don't know when, but now I said that a couple years ago.
Soon.
Yeah. But I don't want to be the guy in the chair, you know, that has to move around in the chair and then you have to get the breathing machine because you can't breathe. And I'm like, I don't want to be that guy. God. So I'm not that guy. And now I know for sure that I'm going to live longer and have a better life because of the decisions that I've made and because you've helped me do that. So I appreciate that. Thank
you. I love that. Yeah. And I never had to push you. I just kept saying, if I lead by example, if I lead by example. So I know I'm going to get pushback for this. Going back to the cookie, people don't realize. So I want to just get crystal clear because I get, well, it's about moderation and just eat the fucking cookie. It's not that big of a deal. And do you have foods, but whatever they call it.
If someone says that to me, I'm like, but see, you don't know me because for me, it's not. If I do one bite, then all of a sudden I'm back on the fucking cookies.
Right.
So it's not. Agreed. If I was in moderation, I wouldn't have. If I had moderation,
you wouldn't have been 280
I wouldn't have been
pounds.
in the spot that I was.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
I'll put a picture of that on the thing if you want.
Yeah, I love that idea.
But the moderation, sure, that's great if you have it, but I don't have that.
Right. And for me, I do have moderation. Luckily, I never struggled with weight problems. But for me, I have some sort of sensitivity to so many things, and sugar and cookies was one of them. Now, have I eaten cookies in my life? Of course. Have I eaten cookies in the last 10 years? Yes. Probably 5 years ago, I quit. Like, I think I would do like gluten-free stuff here and there, but for the most part, and then a couple years ago, I was just like, so maybe 5 years ago, I do like the gluten-free stuff or almond flour and whatnot. And then maybe a couple years ago, I was just like, I'm done because it would hurt my stomach. Yeah. So I would sit there and go, oh yeah. Because I didn't want to get judged. And people think that I had a problem because I wasn't eating the goddamn cookie. But when I would eat the cookie, I would pay. I would be up. Matt Parents and I talk about this all the time because he has the same problem. I'd be up with like tachycardia. My heart would be just... I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do
because you're trying to make people happy by just, you don't want people to say you're the yoga girl that doesn't want to eat.
Or fruit. Yeah. If I ate fruit at night, I would be up. And it's miserable to not sleep. It is
weird how affected you are by things.
Yeah.
Like medicine, food, drinks, everything.
I'm just a sensitive...
You're hypersensitive.
...person.
Yeah.
And whether that's because I have something bigger going on that I'm trying to figure out, or whether that's just because I'm sensitive and I'm just in tune with my body. That's what I like to say. And that's what I love about some of the women that I've gotten closer with, like Danielle, like Lorena, that went on Amber's retreat with her. We had great conversations about this. She's super sensitive like me, and people have given her a hard time. I can't figure out, I've said this ad nauseum on the pod, why people give people a hard time. I know I say veganism is bullshit, but I'm not going to give you a hard time if you want to be a vegan, because for you, maybe it's not bullshit. For you, maybe it's the best thing in the world.
Yeah, that's exactly the thing. I don't think there's one thing that's good for every single person except for like air and water. But other than that,
and sleep.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, it's like somebody can there's guaranteed there's people with beautiful bodies, beautiful blood work, feel good, that are complete vegan. And guaranteed there's people just like that are complete carnivore.
Right.
And doesn't make sense because it should be one or the other, but that's because there's individuality in all these different people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But people don't understand that.
I know. We're going off on a tangent, and we
can do that.
I know.
It's a podcast. We can make it 5 hours if we want.
No, I know. Jan, also, guys, maybe DM me and tell me what you think about this. Also, I love when I tell you guys to DM me, and you do. I really love hearing from you. I love hearing what you have to say. I've gotten the best feedback from Kelly and I's podcast. I've gotten the best feedback from Kelly Musa's and Barb's. I got the sweetest message today about Barb's, this woman who goes to Yoga Joint, and she also is going through breast cancer. She doesn't know Barb. She didn't know the story. And she said that it just brought her to tears, and she was so excited to learn some of those modalities. So I'm like, how cool is that?
Yeah. So
You
cool.
know, I'm obsessed with trying to help people and just want to talk about things, anything that could get people to move the needle in a good direction. So I just love when you guys DM me. So please DM me. So this is the question. Chan wants to do longer format podcast. I do not. The studies show that already as it is, like we're pushing, I mean, I don't even know when we started. So that's, I mean, I know we're getting closer. Actually, so this guy, the guy is texting me right now that hit me the other day in the car. I got into a car accident. My car is fine, but this guy just fucking boom out of nowhere. So he was texting. Okay, so we haven't even been hearing it because he was texting right before we started it. So it hasn't been an hour. So Chan wants to do longer format. The studies show 30 minutes is like the sweet spot. But for me personally, when I listen to podcasts, and I listen to podcasts every day, as you guys know, I like the hour-ish.
I like the hour, but sometimes so not a lot with you, but sometimes I feel like you rush through things just to get to the hour. So
Yeah.
that's why I always am like, listen, first of all, it doesn't have to go on a network. It doesn't have to go on a
Yeah,
radio.
we're not even
just talk and
doing ads
and
or
if you can get to
anything.
the hour, that's great. And if not, if it's longer, then that's great. And if it's not, then that's great too.
I'm just curious what the audience thinks.
Yeah. DM her because she loves to be DM'd.
I just want to know if you think what the time frame is, and then I can show my husband, because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
I'm sure if you have something good to talk about, people don't care about how long it is to listen.
I think if you're in the groove and you're in a flow and it does feel good, for sure. I'm not trying to cut anybody off. I do think, though, like you said, I don't know if it's because I teach yoga for an hour and I do fit for 45 minutes.
That's your attention span.
Maybe it's
Well,
a
that's
me
not,
thing.
when I'm doing surgery, and it's like if I know it's going to be a 45 minute to an hour surgery, and whatever complications happen, and then I'm fixing them, and it's like 2 hours. I'm like, oh my God, what is?
For
it's
sure.
Like, yeah, it's like I don't know. It doesn't. It seems like it's too long.
Yeah.
No,
So on that note,
we're not even that long.
are we wrapping this up?
Sure, buddy.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in today. Watch me grow. Channing and I will continue to do more. I definitely get lots of DMs on people say that they love when you and I are on the podcast. They have really enjoyed everybody that I've interviewed, but it is sweet. Everybody's like, you and Chan do more, please. Talk about relationships, talk about the pitfalls. And we have so many pitfalls. I do think that for those podcasts, we will have to plan a little bit more, because we've never done any sort of planning for these podcasts. We just sit and go. Even with the people I've interviewed, it's been very off the cusp. And I think with you and I, we would have to sit and really talk about that, because we're in such a good place now. Sometimes it's hard to think about how low we've gotten, and we have gotten low in our marriage.
And we've said that before, is that like, if we can go from where we were to there, and then work our way through that to where we are now, then if anybody, even if you can benefit one person from that, that's great.
Yeah, for sure.
But I definitely think that the whole communication thing and just sticking with it is a big factor in what we did, and just a general love behind the whole thing.
I wanted to say this earlier. I have a couple friends, parents, and have said that if they're in their mid 70s, if they could go back in time, they would have just stuck it out with their first significant other, because there was nothing besides abuse or addiction or sexual abuse or something like that, like physical abuse, sexual abuse, gambling, addiction, sex, porn, any of that kind of like gnarly stuff, then yes, like maybe you can't make it work with somebody like that, especially abuse. But besides that, taking that out of the equation, they were saying that pretty much every single person that they dated or even married or even married to now, it's the same problems.
Yeah.
So
It's like you want something different, but there you go again. There it is again.
there you are.
Yeah.
You are who you are.
Right.
So a lot of the factor in relationships is not about the other person. It's about how you respond to the circumstances.
Right. And someone's just going to be there showing you the mirror. So it's like that one person, you throw them away, but then the next person, you get the same problem. Then you start to figure it out, hopefully. But
yeah. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it is interesting. What you're saying is that they say just to
yeah,
work
they're
it
pretty
out
much like just try to work it out, because once the kids leave,
yeah.
a lot of people, I think it's either when the kids are little, they can't handle it and they're divorced.
Yeah.
And then I think it happens again at our stage when the kids leave the house, like ours have. We have one left, but 3 have left the house. And
I was a little bit worried, not recently, but like maybe 2 years ago or 3 years ago, like when he first left, I think is when it was, because you really had a hard time with that. And you would say, you're like, I literally don't know what I'm going to do when it's just you and me, because this is driving me fucking crazy right now. And we're not there, thankfully, anymore. We're not in that spot, but we might be back there. I don't know.
Okay, so that's one of those things, guys. Remember I said earlier when we were doing the podcast with Hugh that he says shit that I'm like, what? I don't remember. I don't remember ever saying that. I would say joking, which I know there's truth in joking for sure, but I'd be like, damn, what are we going to do with just the 2 of us? I'm scared of just the 2 of us. Everybody talks about but I wasn't like, I'm going to fucking kill myself what did you just say?
No, but I didn't say that. I said like that it's going to be hard when there's no kids, because it's one dynamic when you're the mom, I'm the dad, and there's kids and you have your role and you do what you do. And what I was sensing is that whatever it was you were sensing when Michael went to school the very first time and you had a hard time with it, you're like, when Taylor goes, I'm literally going to go, like, I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. Like, I'm just going to be.
Yeah. See, I just don't remember saying that. That's one of those Gemini moments.
That's okay.
Because I don't even remember saying that. I remember,
I didn't act on it. I just like, I remember being worried about it.
Because we've never had this conversation. Maybe that was one of those things where I was communicating something that you weren't comprehending. And that's your story. That's your side of it. That's how you interpreted it.
Yeah.
Because I remember having conversations about the kids leaving and me being like, oh my God, what the fuck am I going to do with my life? But it had nothing to do with like, what are you and I going to do?
It was literally like, okay, when Taylor's gone, I don't know what you're going to do, because I'm going to be going on this retreat and doing this and I'm going to have my own life.
Are you guys witnessing this? This is out of control.
Well, so maybe you didn't say exactly those words, but that's how I took it.
Right.
Like that's
which is
how I understood
fascinating.
it. Yeah.
No, that's not how I was that's not my intention.
Okay,
so
I'm glad we're talking about it now.
I know, on the podcast for the first time. Talk about vulnerability. Talk about authenticity.
Well, I think vulnerability is such a cool trait to have, though, even though it's vulnerable and it feels scary, but it also knocks me off of my guard. Like if you're vulnerable, and I don't care how mad I am, if you're vulnerable, I'm like, oh, now you got it. Like, it's I don't know, it's a reflex. All of a sudden you want to be like, help that person. Yeah. It's amazing.
Yeah. So just so we're crystal clear, okay? It is such a mind fuck to be a mom. And my older girlfriends that have kids that are now in their 30s never really told me how difficult it was going to be for the kids to leave the nest. And I haven't even gotten to Taylor. And Taylor and I are the closest out of all the kids. And her and I are attached at the hip, and we've been that way since she came out of the womb. So when we do this podcast in a year from now, and I'm literally on the bathroom floor in a fetal position, crying my eyes out, talking on the pod, you'll know why. So I don't even know what it's going to be like. However, what I was saying back then is that being a mom has been my sole job for so many years. And I know Yoga Joint and the people and all that, and I get so much from that, but being a mom is the one job that I always want to do forever and ever and ever. And when they start to not need you, it's really difficult. I don't think it's been as hard for you as it is for me. Is that fair to say?
I think so.
So saying, what the fuck are we going to do? What am I going to do when they leave? Because that's been such a huge part of my identity. And you have so much more of an identity than I do, because although you've been there every step of the way for them from the time from babies till graduation, I was always like planning the birthday parties and planning this and doing that and cleaning and all the things that moms do, and not taking away anything that you've done, but it's been such a huge part of my identity.
I get that.
That's what's so scary about them leaving, is that you're like, oh my God, what do I do? And then I ended up getting 2 fucking dogs because of this. Like I literally got 2 dogs to take care of because my 2 younger children were leaving the house. Like it doesn't take a psychiatrist to unpack what I was doing. I need to take care of something. And yes, I have the studios, and yes, I have my team, and yes, I work a lot and I love it, but it's not the same as like taking care of something.
Right.
Although I take care of Yoga Joint,
Right.
Yoga Joint is a business.
And it can't go away to college.
And it can't go away to college. So that is what I meant
Gotcha.
about what the fuck am I going to do?
Now we know.
When
Glad we talked about
I
it.
love this
Yeah.
for us. You don't believe me?
I do.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
Good.
I believe you.
Okay, so on that note, we are done. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode with Channing and I on Watch Me Grow. Until next week, I'll see you guys later.
Thank you.
Thank you.